Hello, here we are with another Piano Pandemicitivies book review, and today's book is Fantasies of Improvisation by Dana Gooley. There's the cover. I've already returned it to the library, so I don't have the book in hand. It's back on the shelves. So this is, again, a fairly recent book, 2018, which is new in book years anyway. And what is happening in this book is really a social history of improvisation in the 19th century, and it is probably the best, most comprehensive picture of the decline, actually, of improvisation. So, Gooley explains many of the complicated, interwoven reasons for why classical musicians don't improvise anymore. So by social history, I mean the author is particularly interested in how it was perceived by everybody, audiences, players, etc., how it was received, things they said about it, and as time goes on, the place in the public imagination that improvisation took. And I'll say something else about that in a moment. Gooley starts with Abbe Vogler, who was an organist and a teacher. He's not well known today, although not utterly forgotten. I think you can find stuff about him. And his circle of students and the level, the role of improvisation that was played in that circle of studies. Many interesting little anecdotes and details along the way. For example, stories of Vogler and others improvising a storm on the organ. So presumably distant rumblings, and then sprinkling of rain, and then some kind of toccata of raindrops, and then something horrible in the pedals for thunder and lightning, and then the sun comes out at the end. Much more goofy and fun and playful than maybe we are accustomed to thinking about 19th century organists. Another fascinating figure is Carl Löwe, who I had never heard of. Löwe apparently would have audiences send poems to the stage, and he'd look through them, and he would improvise art songs on these poems, playing the piano and singing at the same time. I would like to have heard that. There's so many questions that go with that. Did he have pre-existing melodies? Did they all sound the same after a while, or were they really kind of interesting and different? Was there always, could he invent a new form on the fly, or did he always sort of force the text to fit some pre-existing form? Many questions how that took place. So these anecdotes, these vivid pictures of improvisers that don't fit our normal perceptions of what was going on back then are valuable and very interesting. While he does mention Liszt, he actually specifically says that he deliberately did not make Liszt the center of the book because Liszt has already received a lot of attention. One very interesting aspect also is that as time goes on, both Schumann and Liszt expressed increasing reluctance about public improvisation, that their own attitudes kind of seem to go along with the fading of improvisation from public view. Even though we normally think of Liszt as Mr. Spontaneous, apparently later in his career he obviously kept writing his music as though it was improvised. All these passages that say "a piacere" and do this little beautiful cadenza as though you're making it up. But he actually was getting more and more hesitant about the practice himself. The main thesis of the book that I think is extremely interesting is what Dana Gooley calls the improvisation imaginary. How people imagine improvisation, what they think it is. And the thesis is, way back when, beginning of the 19th century into the 18th century, when more musicians were improvising all the time, just as a matter of artisanal skill, because they had to for their jobs, nobody really got all flowery and excited and thought anything particularly special was going on when someone improvised. Later, as people stopped doing it as much, it takes on this kind of mystical quality. Oh, the gods have spoken, the spirit is moving, something, this musical miracle is flowing through the performer. So, as it's vanishing, its reputation is increasing. Maybe, it's just a simple matter of scarcity and curiosity about something that one doesn't see every day. So I thought this was extremely interesting. Like some other books that give us valuable history, it's not actually a book that will show you how to improvise. It's not an instruction book. It doesn't have any actual theory or chords or something like that. It's really a social history. Who will read this book? I think most educated professionals and amateurs would enjoy it. I mean, the author is a musicologist, and in the world of musicology, if you write a book, you're obliged to speak to other musicologists about current theories and arguments within musicology that maybe other people don't care about or are not initiated into those conversations. So there are levels of detail and parts of musicological discussions that might not be of general interest to anyone who is not a professional in that field. So you might have to skim a little bit here and there. That's okay. But the story as a whole is great. It's really worth it. And I would say it's the most comprehensive treatment of just where did it go? How did it vanish? It's a really good take on that question. So Fantasies of Improvisation, Dana Gooley, great book to read during the pandemic. Highly recommended. Thanks a lot. Ciao.